Making better grown-ups.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Making Better Grown-Ups. If you are looking at us on YouTube, you might be like, what? What's going on? Yes, there are two of us, and we're on a couch.
And we look like we rolled out of bed.
Two people in a boat. We are on a couch. We are in our leisure because something very major is happening for us. We want you to stick around as we announce a very, very big change in our lives. Epic story. Cannot wait to dish with you. Stick with us. This is going to be a really wild ride. Episode 9 coming at you. Episode 9. We're almost to 10.
Almost.
Almost. We've been trying to get to 10. My friend told me when we started this podcast, if you can get 10 episodes, then you can really know what you want to do with this podcast. Well, we're still trying to get to 10.
And we're still figuring it out.
We're still figuring it out. We thought we'd try something different. We're on the couch. Very soon you'll figure out why we're sitting on this couch. This couch is for sale in case you want it. Some very big stuff has been happening in our lives, and we just made a massive announcement on socials and with our hood this last week, and we thought it was only right to share it with our audience out in the world, on the web, and bring you into our home and kind of tell you what the deal is. It's a pretty big deal.
It's a pretty crazy story. Like, I think all your stories in your life. But
it's fun to be actually living the story currently. Like, we're in it, we're living it, but we're telling it at the same time.
Yeah.
The podcast has always been like a reflection from like 15, 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah, this is now.
This is current.
It's still being written, too.
It's still being written. Put that on a t-shirt. So just to give you some background about who we are, I'm Leah. This is Jeff, my husband. We are natives of the South. I'm from Texas.
Louisiana.
Don't judge. I married a Cajun, and I married younger. I'm a smart girl. We are Southerners at heart, but we moved to New Jersey 11 years ago in March, and it is now currently February. So that's next month.
Wow.
Literally, this massive announcement is coming on our anniversary of 11 years.
Wow.
High fives. That's pretty crazy. Wow, we just had an aha. Yeah, so we've been together for 18 years, but we've been living in New Jersey for 11 of the 18. Mm-hmm. That's even more bonkers now that I say it.
Yeah, so we started our life, I guess you would say, in Texas. Had our first kid together.
You were courting me in Texas?
Courted you in Texas.
Before the child.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Trace in Texas, mm-hmm. and then we plucked him at 2 years old mm-hmm. and moved him to the great state of New Jersey, which we love.
We love it.
We love Texas. We love New Jersey. They're completely different.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's been, a great 11 years that we've grown in ourselves personally. We've grown up businesses. We've started new businesses.
We raised a child. We had an accidental, oops, oh my God, we're having another child. Yeah. We've done a lot in New Jersey. It's blessed us immensely. But as we told you, something big has come up in our lives, and this is nutso, but just stick with me. And wait till the very end, because the whole thing is still being written, but this is just a really crazy story of two people, imperfect people, following God, listening to his whispers, who just went through two of the roughest years of our life. And I think a lot of you might have gone through two of the roughest years of your life, maybe 3 or 4. The pandemic did a really big number on all of us, and I think that the pandemic itself was scary. I mean, just to go back and really think what we were doing. Like, really think about, we were hiding in this house. We were scared. We were not able to travel. We couldn't even go to the grocery store for a while. There was a lot. We need to really recognize that actually happened.
There's a lot of confusion, misinformation. People were scared. I mean, there wasn't clear answers on what was happening. And then even after we started to get some resolve and feel good about it, then we came out of it and the world's different.
Yeah, we all are different. We are marked by that. I don't think we're defined by it, but we definitely have scars from it. And I think scars are just reminders of what you went through, what you survived, what you thrived through. We were so blessed because we were wedding photographers, you guys. We still are wedding photographers, but we took a hiatus for a little while, and the pandemic kind of aided in that.
Yeah.
Because then we could chill, be at home, be safe. We rebooked a couple of weddings, but mostly it was just it worked in our favor that we just stopped booking weddings.
Yeah.
And that's when we took on health coaching, and we were super successful, and we're so grateful for that season in our life. But it was helping us thrive through darkness. We were talking and connecting and Zooming and helping people and serving. It was just such a blessing for that time that was really dark for so many people. and we were really thriving and making a lot of money and having huge success. And, I'm so grateful that we had it good.
Yeah, it was good. And I mean, I was working from home full time. Like during that time as well. And,
that was before you switched jobs. That was because
Correct.
everyone was working home for full time. You didn't have like special treatment, like everybody worked from home because you didn't have a choice.
And I mean, like, let's face it, guys, for everyone that affected, the first few months we were working from
quote
home.
Unquote, working from home,
AKA
which means
the best summer ever. Exactly. The best summer ever.
6 feet apart.
I mean, but the health coaching thing in like hindsight was actually perfectly timed too, because I mean, when you think about it, we all were home scared, like we could have picked up a lot of bad habits. And like, so having something like to keep us going, keep us focused on our health and sharing that with others, like that was a bright spot. That really was a bright spot there.
Yeah, super grateful for that season. And like all seasons, things come to an end. And if you know me, I like seasons and I end a lot of things and begin a lot of new things. Hence this story about this move. We are officially announcing that we are leaving New Jersey and we're going back home to Texas. I don't even know if I like to say going back.
No.
It's weird because we're going forward, but we're going
yes.
back.
We're moving back to where we left. No, that sounds weird too. I don't know.
We're moving forward. We're just moving back to our stomping grounds, to the place. Honestly, I'm always scared. Like we're going to go back and we're going to go fall into bad habits or bad, friend group, or go back to this other version of myself. Like I'm going to go back to something I used to be because I was there my whole freaking life.
Yes. I feel like that's why like we struggle with the word like going back, because I feel like some people think, all the progress that I've made now that's all wiped away. But that's not the case.
It's like, oh, you had to go back home.
Yeah, right.
You failed.
Yeah.
But this is like the opposite. We leveled up.
We definitely did. And we made a choice. And I mean, as you'll hear in the story is we were thinking about the choice for years.
Yeah. So let's just sit on that for a second. Because what we're about to tell you, you're probably going to be like, that doesn't make sense, and that's the timeline is crazy. You're insane. But let's just remind you, we've been here 11 years. We promised our parents we'd be back in 2 years. Well, that didn't happen. In 2 years, we actually bought this house, and it's on the lake. It's gorgeous. It's home. We raised Trace here. And then Mabel was
Trace
born
only
here.
remembers this house.
Yeah,
really.
Trace only remembers house. Mabel is about to be 5. She only knows this house as of now. And that's why we stayed. I think our current clients in photography were another reason. We built relationships. People needed us here. Our community here, our neighborhood is rad. They really rallied during the pandemic and became our second family. And we just got comfortable, and it felt like home. But there was always an underlying like urge to go home. But to me, it was settling.
Yeah.
Like that's when we all give up and we just go home back to our family. Seriously, I was like, if I go back, that's me kind of being like, I'm done with the city life in New York and, the upstate life and just doing all this stuff. And it just becomes, you're back to being Southern.
Do you feel like living here kind of defined you a little bit? Like
living here made me different. And I love being different. Yeah. So going back, I'm just going to be the same as everybody, I feel like. Just another Texan with an accent. I know. I'm not dissing on anybody, but like being here, being Southern gave us an edge. Because people were like, you're not like everybody else.
Case in point is with my last name living in Louisiana.
It's like Smith.
It doesn't make a difference.
Bourgeois is like Smith.
As soon as we move, I mean, even when I moved to Texas, but as soon as we moved to New Jersey, they're like, oh,
Texas really loved it.
Mr.
And Jersey
Bourgeois.
really loved it. We were like fancy everywhere we go.
It's like being different in a pool of people the same. And like, that's why like we, that was an aspect of like why we really loved living here is it was all new and exciting and different.
And I said this on the Facebook Live, and I'm going to just say it again. You'll hear me probably say it for a lifetime, but if you ever have the chance to leave everything go on a backpacking adventure across the tundra, fly to another country and spend 2 or 3 weeks there and leave everything or move your family across the country and do something crazy and just go by faith alone and learn new skills and learn a new tribe of people. My God, the people here are so different, but we found things that we had in common with them and we thrived here. But again, the underlying droning feeling was we were always going back. It was just a matter of when. And just to kind of like, I didn't even write this in my notes, but I feel like compelled to say it, is like, I think we had been living in Jersey less than a year. My mom calls me and she's like, listen, I had a dream last night. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I don't want you to be worried. Okay, now I'm worried. Like, that's the number one thing you don't say to somebody. Don't be worried. I'm worried. And she's like, the dream was basically you're going to be living in Texas on a giant piece of land with a big gate around it, 4 houses, a house in the middle. We're going to have gardens. We're going to have animals. We're going to be living off the land. And I was like, say what? Like, I just got here. I have to be here 2 years. When is this happening? And she's like, well, it might not happen for a while, but when God tells you, you will know. And I'm like, okay, I'm freaking out. She's like, I didn't mean to, but your Aunt Sharita had the same dream. What?
Bye, gotta go.
Yeah, hang up and start praying. What do we do? She's like, no, seriously, there's no emergency happening. Don't come home. It's just, we both had it. We both feel something's coming. It could be 10 years. It could be 20 years. We don't know. And so that was always in the back of my mind, like, oh my God, when will God call me home? Not to heaven, just to Texas, which some people think is heaven.
It's my next home. Please.
Yeah, to my other home. And it's always been on my heart. It's like a secret thing I've never said out loud. And here it is. It's on the internet for you to hear. And we'd already been living here. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait for God to tell me it's time to go. And boy, he's been planting seeds literally for the last 2 years. And it's all about to unravel right here in front of you and on your AirPods. Let's do it.
Let's crack into it.
So we came for a job.
My job transferred us 11 years ago, right?
Yeah, we fell in love with this state. We fell in love with New York. We fell in love with being able to like pop into the city on a bus and a train. That was fun.
Not to derail, but just really quick.
That was a really funny pun. He didn't even catch it.
No, I didn't. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said by bus and train, and you said derail. I usually catch your jokes for you until you just said a joke, and you're like, oh my God, I did.
I just need to act like everything that I say is always funny.
You do. And it isn't.
Anyway, to not derail, God, man, that was a good one. We actually told my job no, and we actually made a decision to not move to Jersey. And then again, God,
this is super important. This is a detail that I did not write down. But Jeff had declined the job because I told him no. We're not leaving my mom. I'm not leaving my kids.
Trace was 1 and change.
And Maddie was, I can't remember. She was in high school. I was like, dude, we're not leaving her. It's her senior year. And we were really torn about it. But I was cleaning these cheap ass counters in my old house, which was a new house from build. So I'm being dramatic. But I'm cleaning these cheap countertops. And God just revealed to me, he was like, you've been cleaning these every day. No one ever sees that they're clean but you and me and Jeff. And no one visits you. You have no friends. You don't go anywhere. You are doing the same thing every day on repeat. And it's killing you. You have to go. And the go is the word that he always uses with me. It's in capital letters. And it's like go. It's like a shout. And so I just called Jeffrey and with all confidence said, we are going. Works out that the guy who was saving the position this whole time, because he had a feeling we would come back and change our mind. David, shout out to David, who's still our friend and still in our lives, even though we don't work for that company anymore. He's forever our friends. Yeah. So we accepted the position. And guys, now that I think about it, it moved really fast. We were in Jersey in less than 2 months, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
We made a decision and we were here by March. January, we made the decision, and by March, we were here.
Yes.
Literally. Whoa, I'm just having a weird moment. It's the same exact season, Jeff. It's the same exact months and it's the same exact feeling. I'm going to get emotional. I didn't think about that.
It was very rushed. It was very rushed because they announced the plant closure right after the holidays.
We had to go.
And
we came to Jersey like something was chasing us and we obeyed. Yeah. And we built a beautiful life here, you guys. Like, I have my notes even written down. We rented a house. We ended up buying a new house 2 years later because we really wanted to invest in the here. And our photography business was exploding.
It was a very beautiful life.
It's been a really, really great life. And I think it will continue even if we're not living here.
Absolutely.
The people will go with us. Just like in Texas, we go back, we visit people, we do things. So instead of thinking we're shutting a door, the chapter is closed and being so dramatic, it's more like, we'll see you soon. You know, we plan on coming back. It's not that big. But you know what was really driving that undertone for us was like being alone. I found myself cleaning the counters again. And no one was coming to visit. And no one was coming to a party I'm hosting. There was nothing happening really. It was just us, the kids, and loneliness. And even though we're surrounded by people, the winters are so hard. They're so hard. Whew. COVID really started it, though. COVID was the big, big change. It was the shift. And even though we grew close to our neighbors during COVID, you still couldn't get close to them. And then I got COVID so many damn times. I was scared to be around. I still am nervous to be around a large group of people. So we weren't having people in our home because we didn't want to spread illness. No. Fear was kind of ruling our lives.
I mean, kind of a New Jersey standard anyway, a northern standard that people don't just willingly just barge in your house, unlike the South where they just walk right in, which we love, but...
Yeah, they don't do that here.
Yeah.
They got RESPECT. Did I spell it right?
Yeah, you did.
Great job. Okay.
No.
You know, working remote, Jeff started working remote by like the job telling him, not because COVID shut him down, because he actually started going back into the office. He switched jobs. And when you started working remote, maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago, that's when I told you life is about to dramatically change for us.
Yeah.
And you were like, it's going to be so awesome. And I was like, dude, you're not going to want to shower. You're going to like not want to leave the house. I just kind of gave you like a warning.
You did. And like, so like when people like hear the timetable too, it's like, this was part of, you know, like years back, like we felt the stirring and like we knew this was going to come. Like, so we started to prepare and plan our life for when it comes, it would just be easier. And part of that was me not being tied to an office. And
1,000,000%.
And the job that I had, you know, I mean, to be honest, like the job that I left was giving me raises and promotions like left and right. I was excelling. I was needed. I was doing 4 jobs, which, you know, I mean, came at his own cost, but like everything was going well there.
And we needed you to because I was backing off of weddings.
Bingo.
And I was backing out of health coaching because God was telling me out of obedience to start shutting the doors on health coaching and start photographing more, but not weddings. And that's where my money was all at in both of those arenas. And I was like, whoa, wait, you want to take a job that's remote so you can wear pajamas every day and take a pay cut?
Take a pay cut.
This is not the time to take a pay cut because I ain't got no full-time job right now. And you were just like very confident that our life would be fine. We could live below our means. And the end goal was if we're both remote, we have nothing tying us down. We can be free to leave whenever God tells us to go.
Yes, because as we all know, moving is stressful enough. And, you know, having to find employment on top of that while
painful.
It's next level. So I took a job at Carhartt, shout out Carhartt. That's why you probably see us wearing Carhartt so much.
That's when I don't wash my hair hat.
So yeah, started working remote fully. They're based in Michigan. And so, you know, they went remote during COVID. They had fantastic growth like some companies did. And they said, let's not change this. So, I mean, kudos to them for being open-minded about it. But yeah, I started working remote and then, you know, started to slowly lose myself, going from, you know, waking up and always, you know,
routine,
like putting on clothes, brushing my
putting
teeth,
on clothes.
like just the bare essentials, driving my car, listening to an audiobook, a podcast.
And his wife warned him, it's coming.
You did.
And you had to learn the hard way.
I did. I slowly slipped into a depression of just, you know, like working all the time, not taking care of myself, not putting good things in, not eating well. I mean, eating just snacks all day and not like taking breaks, not walk, like just the bare essentials of a person's everyday health. Yeah. I was not doing.
And I think a lot of the world is suffering right now. Do you work from home? Yeah. Do you find that you struggle with balance, struggle when to start working, when to stop working? Are you getting sunshine? Are you taking walks? Are you weight training? Are you seeing friends and family? Are you getting out of the house and connecting? Like, these are the things that we were having to deal with. And then we were together all the damn time. Yeah. That was another huge stressor. And I think that's the stressor that actually led us to the final breakdown.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of prophecy, prophetic type things that God's been working on and showing me signs and symbols all the way since January of last year. And I just want to walk you through those as that we walk you into this decision, because this is how long God's been working on my heart. It's been about 2 years, but he specifically, I remember this starting in January of 2023. And it was when I came back from Florida and I got COVID for the third time. It was long COVID. It lasted over 2 months. So all of January, all of February, and a little bit of March, I was sick. I mean, really sick. I don't even want to get into the details because it makes me sick thinking about it. But that's when God told me. He was like, he gives me visions and he gives me words. So the vision that I had was someone kicking the dirt. And you know, when you kick the dirt, especially in Texas, it goes up in the sky and it kind of lingers, but it slowly falls down. He said, you're about to do that. And I'm like, what does that mean? And I came home and told Jeff as soon as I got back from the trip, right before I started showing symptoms, that I'm going to be kicking up the dirt this year. Mm-hmm. And then he told me a great unraveling is going to happen. Those are some big, big drops. Like, what? Immediately a little bit of fear was in my throat, but also like he's warning me. He's giving me enough time to prepare for something like this. And it was in April, so Easter. April, we went to church. It was the first time we'd ever taken Mabel to church after COVID, which was also really hard for me. There was a lot of talks about tables, which if you listen to episode 2, the round table, it was all about that. You can go listen to that at your leisure. But he told me that I'm going to have to go clean up my house in April. And at first I was like, I thought I did have a clean house. So basic, like, duh. But he was like, no, your house, your heart, your home, your family dynamic, your relationships, some bad habits you've picked up, the balance you have with work versus life, because I was spending so much time working on my health coaching business and not with my family. I missed a lot building a business and making money. And he was just like, this is the season to go take care of your house. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever that means. And I've been, was working on it, trying to get better at it. And we picked up a couple of unhealthy habits. I think we all did during COVID. Like we said, it was just like midday drinking in the lawn. We're taking a break.
It was coping mechanisms, right?
So many coping mechanisms. And so one of the things that was really driving us apart in these last few months, even though we were carrying out these missions in our heart, like something's coming, we're kicking up the dirt. Obviously, me kicking up the dirt was parting with my health coaching company. It definitely didn't sit well with a lot of people. The dirt's still in the air. I'm okay with it. I have full confidence in it. I'm grateful for the time. I'm grateful for the people. But when God tells me to do something, you better believe I'm going to go with that than what social media is making me feel like I should be doing. So that's why I did that. That's the dirt. It's still not settled. I'm fine with it. I have masks. And then the other part of cleaning up my house was get home and fix my family. I could not figure out for the life of me what that was. And God was not giving me anything forward. Nothing was being added, but doors were being closed and none were being opened. No. I was like, what is he preparing for real? I've laid down everything.
Yeah, you had trips taken away. You had sickness. You had...
Literally, my mom told me, don't make him teach you the same lesson twice. I was like, what lesson is he trying to teach me? Like, I don't get it. But he just kept showing me put boxes down. The great unraveling will happen when you put all the boxes down. And I just had to give up everything. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm grateful for everything. But literally, my pride, my sense of winning everything. I love to win. I love to be the top person in something. I love to be on the top of a pyramid and a company. And God's like, that's just not what I desire for you right now. I need you to make me the top. And woo. It really came to a head when both of us were working from home. It was maybe 5 weeks ago. It's only been 5 weeks ago. It hasn't even been a whole month, really, honestly. If I really look at the dates, it's been less than a month. That just being trapped together, winter, the kids not leaving the house.
Not seeing our family for the holidays.
Not seeing our family for the holiday. It just started adding up, and we just kind of started butting heads. And so we butt heads hard enough that we went separately to different parts of the house and decided we don't need to speak anymore. Because everything that was going to come out of our face was going to be hurtful and defensive. If you're married, do you know what we're talking about? If you're not married, listen, lean in. It's okay to fight and to fight fair, but we started not fighting fair.
That's true. That is a...
Okay, so we went to our separate rooms. This was literally 5 weeks ago.
Yeah. It was dark.
And
it was
we
really
had
dark.
a lot of, we had a lot. Yeah. We had some darkness. We had some anger, some resentment. I mean, typical stuff that if you don't communicate well and get it out or have a therapist, you're going to have to deal with it eventually.
So for the married couples or the soon to be married couples, right? Like a big part I had to realize was I was putting so much pressure on my wife to fill all these voids because I was working from home and I was not talking with friends and not talking with coworkers, like, you know, in person. It was all calls, but I put friendship, mentor, you know, wife, companion. I put all these things on my wife, and it just, you know, she can't fill all those roles for me, and it was a lot of butting heads and a lot of just dissatisfaction with each other because we were just expecting too much.
Yeah, we have no family to buffer. We have no grandparents to babysit. It's just full on family all the time, business together all the time, stress together, love together, be excited together. And you need to be apart in order to enjoy being together. And it's just not been happening. And I remember 7 weeks ago, I went live on Facebook and I said, urgency is the word behind my eyes. I see it behind my eyes. Urgency is coming. It was purple and silver. That was the color of the word urgency. And very clearly, in the distance, I could see emergency in red, but it was really small, which means to me that like this is not an emergency season, but there's a sense of urgency happening. And this was all before we had our breakdown. So I knew in my spirit something was coming, the great unraveling that God promised, whatever that meant, and that the new word was urgency. And that to me means speed. The time in which something is happening, that you're moving towards something. And then the unraveling is more like things falling away, falling off. Have you had a season or a year? Was 2023 a year where you felt like things were tough and challenging and lots of hardship more than ever? I mean, after a worldwide pandemic, you should have probably had some growth that was painful. And that's what God showed me is that you're going to have a lot of pain. But once that flower bursts through the ground and it goes up, the dirt falls away. It unravels. It falls down. And I feel like 2024 is we literally created a plant that is being burst through the soil and all of the soil falling off is the unraveling. Yeah. And right now we're in the great unraveling. The things that do not serve us, suit us, or push us towards our goal in this life, our calling in this life need to be taken away.
Yeah.
Some of them you got to give and some of them have to be taken.
I remember us saying like the last few years, like we felt like we've been sowing seeds and nurturing and planting. And then we even called it.
At a cost even.
At a cost. And we even said 2024 is going to be like where we start to reap and harvest, you know, all the fruits that we've been like, you know, planting because it's been hard. It's been really, and I mean, farming is not easy. I would like to imagine like it's a lot of faith and a lot of work.
There's a lot of biblical stuff is like farming or fishing.
Absolutely.
Because they're both hard and they take a lot of faith.
A lot.
And a lot of things.
Time.
And time. And I'm known to go fast. Obviously, you're probably listening to me 1.5 speed. You can't understand a word I'm saying. But I've learned to slow down and be discerning and use my wisdom. It's something I'm trying to really hone in.
Yeah.
So when this all started happening 5 weeks ago, I even went, this is a really fast. But again, what I'm about to share with you, and Jeff's going to reiterate, this was because of urgency. And we are not pushing this timeline. The timeline is pushed by God, and we're just holding on by our bootstraps and just like going with the flow. Seriously, like going with it.
Yeah.
Full faith.
It was secret desire.
We're putting all carts before all horses. Literally, if you like people say that, every time I go, we're making this definitive decision before the other decisions that needed to be made are made. Yeah. But God said, do that one right now. Yeah. I mean, he's very clear.
Yes, very, very, very clear.
And for those of you who are like, how do you hear from God? That's a whole other podcast. But we communicate with God differently. Mm-hmm. I'm very visual. I see words. I see pictures. I have dreams.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you talk to God?
It's always when I'm alone, and it's always when I am busy doing something monotonous. I have to like cut the grass or like paint or like do something very physical with my hands that's monotonous to where my mind can just be free to connect. And I mean, like we heard a quote, and you know, people connect with him differently, but I think at a core it is the quote said, is you hear God when you're in his presence.
Yeah.
And so whatever that means to you, get in his presence so you can hear him. And it makes perfect sense.
And getting in his presence
it's different.
is key. Like, and for me, it's worship. Like if I put the right music on, that's the key to my heart. It just opens me up.
Some people, it's going to a physical church. Some people, it's listening to worship music anywhere. Some people, it's connecting with another believer. It's different for everyone.
Getting in it more often, because that's where you'll find him. And also quiet time.
Because he whispers.
So when we split up that night and you went down and I went upstairs, that's when God met me. And I know he met you too, but we had to go separate of each other because we just kept talking over each other and nothing was getting accomplished. Yeah. And when I was up there, and I'll let Jeff tell his side. So when I was up there laying in the bed crying, I felt betrayed. I felt hurt. There was a lot of feelings, but I got really quiet and I was just like, God, what am I supposed to do? This is really dark and I don't like it. He said, look for houses. Now, when I was looking at houses, like, yeah, I'm going to find a house in Texas. I'm going to drag his ass over there and he ain't going to like it, but I'll be close to my family and I'll be fine. You know, I don't need this house. I don't need this man. I was in my flesh. That's how it sounded. But I was searching areas that I knew had good school districts, would be close to my family, but not so close that it would be annoying, that we're all bothering each other, have high expectations on each other. And I was just making circles on the app with my finger because you can draw the area you want to live in or you think you want to live in. And I was drawing around a little city that I knew had a great school district. It had a lot of highways so I could catch really quickly to get to my family. And then when I circled way too big and I went way too north where I thought it was just cattle. For sure, there's nothing but cattle up there. There was 3 dots. I was more curious about the 3 dots at the top than all the dots at the bottom where I could actually live.
It was like by itself, right?
It was all by itself in the middle of like green area. I was like, what's out there? Ranches, cattle, horses, alpacas. And I get there and I'm like, woo, these are fancy houses. Way out of our budget, I thought at the time. I was like, for some reason, though, I favorited a few of them. I was like, I don't know what this is or what town this is, but I don't see any cattle in the photo, so there must not be cattle in the house, so we should be safe. And I literally went to bed. I was a little heartbroken and sad, and I was like, I'll just show Jeff tomorrow. My heart is to leave. I think God's telling me that we need to leave soon. And so that's where I ended that night.
For me, it was really dark, and I shared with Leah after too, like, I mean, when things go dark for me, I tend to spiral my thoughts and internalize a lot and like started to go down all these different negative, scenarios, which just, it's not healthy. So please don't take that page out of my book. But, I ultimately came to the conclusion, well, I mean, first let me say it's like during COVID, right? I mean, the housing market went crazy, right? And Jeff is always looking for business and, financial things. And like, so I'm like, wow, like our house inflated in value. People started to move out like towards this way. So I refinanced the house and like was paying basically next to nothing for it. So like the whole time I'm feeling like we have to move, I'm thinking, how can I keep this house? How can we rent this house? Like, how can we like have a home still here if and when we move to come back, like to see our friends, community, like just trying to solve that puzzle, let's say. And then later that night, she told me about like her visions of like laying things down. And I realized I needed to lay down this house. Like there was no way for me to keep this and move on.
Isn't it so wild? We were in separate parts of the house, angry with each other, hurt by each other. And the one thing we were both thinking about was this house.
Yes.
We knew it was killing us. The thing that brought us together and built the life we had was the very thing that was killing us.
And it's not the house. It was just what the house couldn't give us. And that's being around our family and friends, right? I mean, our Texas friends and extended family there. And like, so I ultimately made the decision. I'm like, you know what? I am letting go of this house. Let me see how much this is worth. And I started looking up like what this house could sell for, like other homes, like starting to plan what we would do when we sold this house.
Or dream.
And yeah.
We both started dreaming separate of each other. And God, that's how cool God is. He took care of both of our hearts separate because he knew if we could heal a little bit of our heart, we would have more compassion to hear each other out the next day. But I remember I came down and I was like, yo, good morning.
It might have just been a morning. It might have just been
need to
morning.
talk, mister. But no, I was like, we need to talk. He's like, we do. And I was like, oh God. He met me with the same like confidence and intention. And I was like, this house is killing us. We have to leave. And he's like, I know. And I was like, I just kind of jabbed. I was like, well, I looked up houses in Texas last night. And he literally looked at me and he said,
I looked up how much our house is worth.
We finished each other's
sandwiches.
Literally, it was like you were an echo to what was in my heart. And I knew in that moment, and he knew in that moment, we have to, what is the magic word? Go. Yeah. Just like we did 11 years ago coming to New Jersey. The same month, 11 years difference.
That's crazy.
I didn't even know that until the day is when he said, you need to go. And he didn't use the word urgency back then because I didn't know how to talk to God. I was still learning who I was. Now I have a deep relationship and he's very clear with me and I listen and I obey and I go.
Yeah.
Like I literally do it. And I don't really care what people think. I don't care what it looks like. I have full confidence. Even my family, the people I admire and that look into me and spread wisdom, I'm like, sit back and watch.
Yeah.
Because this is God. This is not me.
It's not me. This is like, a first world comparison to biblical stories by all means. But I mean, I always think back to to Noah, to David, like all these classic biblical stories where everyone thought they were nuts. They were crazy. Like, what are you doing? But they had full faith and confidence. And I feel
that's how I feel.
That's how we are.
Separate of Jeff and with Jeff, like that's how I feel. So yeah, so we looked, this is so funny. This little breakdown's so funny. So I show him my phone. It's like, so there was these 3 dots like randomly up here and God keeps pulling me back to the 3 dots. He's like, well, where is it at? I was like, somewhere, I named the name and he was like, oh, I've never heard of that. I was like, me either, but it's like 8 miles from where I used to teach. But how did I never know it was there? He's like, I don't know. So I was like, well, look it up. He gets on the Google. He's like, it's a population of this. And it's it's in the top 5 schools in the state of Texas. And I'm like, say what? Because schools are really important to us. And I was like, you got to be kidding. It's only 30 minutes from my parents and I didn't know it existed.
And I mean, like we're financially blessed, but we could not send our kids to private school. So we needed to find a good public school district.
Really good, right? And then he Google searched. He found the house. He's like, let me look at the address. The address led him to a community. He looked up the community's name and then he Googled the community and I was sitting right next to him. And when that web page opened, what came up on that web page, which to them was probably we're just taking aerial footage of our beautiful community, was the answers to our prayers. It was literally if, like the person that edited the video. Ask, what do you want?
Ask God, hey, what does Leah and Jeff want to see? And let me make that video. And that's literally what he
literally. Cut. So what are God says he gives you the desires of your heart. And I think that the word desire, I was talking to a friend about it last week. Desire is a really special word. It's very intimate.
Yeah.
You don't go and tell people your desires.
It's secret.
It usually lives inside your heart. It's deep in your heart. And he knows those desires. And I have not verbalized many of the things that I want out loud with my husband, myself, the world, my best friends. They're desires. They're little secrets and little whispers in my heart. And when that slideshow played, I mean, not to be dramatic, but it was like slow motion, God just breaking that flower from the earth. I could feel the unraveling happen. A great peace came over me. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, this is happening for us.
And we cried.
We cried and we giggled.
Cry like babies.
We giggled and then we'd cry. And then we giggled, we cried. Then we're slapping our knee and we're like, oh my gosh, because we know how great God is. And if you've heard how many times we say God already, if you're uncomfortable, I'm so sorry, but that's just
sorry, not sorry.
That's the underlying of all of my life, but especially this story just to show off.
Yeah.
So what are the desires of our heart? Like what was actually hurting us here? We had not a strong community anymore. No. We had lost it. The community is outside in the front yard if everyone's outside.
Correct. Which is not in winter.
Yeah, winter. Lonely. Yeah. Very lonely. We were not close to our family. We're very, very far. My dad says 3.5 hour flight, but really it's like thousands and thousands of miles and lots of flight time and travel.
Just being outside, because in winter it's hard to be outside up here up here.
So we wanted a place that we could be outdoors more,
warmer weather, see the sun. to be physically healthy. I've always wanted like to swim again, to like swim in
he's a swimmer
in a lane pool, and this community had a lane pool.
Well, you want to always like use your swimming. I wanted to get out of the house and have friends and have connections because I was dying. I've realized recently that if I'm dying inside if I'm not connecting.
Yeah.
And connecting with my husband is great, but it's not enough. Mm-hmm. And then we wanted to do more living and less projects. This house is older, but the projects were so fun. But when we ran out of projects is when it really started to hurt our relationship because we are goal-driven people, obviously. And we love doing things together, but we had to learn to do things apart. So we needed a house that we weren't going to be working on all the time. And mostly our children need their family and they need community. They need friends. Yes. We want our son to be out of this house and not playing video games.
And active, yeah.
He needs options. He needs options. He loves basketball, but he plays by himself on the street. Like I see him out there playing by himself. He's the oldest of the community and it just breaks my heart. I want more for him. And as this is unraveled, God has showed me that the flower that's blooming out of the earth, the very top of the flower, you know, the little part inside when it burst open, and it's like the little yellow part, pollen, all that stuff. That's my son. He's the center of this flower. Yeah. He's the reason for the urgency. Mm-hmm. And the little tiny desire, like way back there, that goes all the way from my mother's dream, saying that we would live on a piece of land. We would need to know how to grow. We need to know how to raise our animals and sustain ourselves. I know you're probably like, are you a doomsdayer? No, I'm a realist. But deep in my heart, I totally blew my mom off my whole life when she would garden. She'd be like, you want to help? No. Hey, Leah, no. I'm never going to garden, Mom. That's so old. Like, nobody does that. Now everyone's doing it, and I don't know how to do it. And so my desire secretly, and Jeff knew, is I really wish that I knew how to plant and garden. But I'm bougie. I need nice amenities. I'm bougie, but I want to, like, have the skill sets to survive if I absolutely had to. Right. So this slideshow comes up.
What's on it?
Guess what the name is first?
Oh, yeah.
The name, Harvest.
It was our word.
Literally the word that we've been working on. And that was the first thing that made us cry. Mm-hmm. And then it went on to show these beautiful houses that don't need to be worked on. Mm-hmm. Not huge yards. We have a huge yard here that takes like 5 hours to do. What else is on there? Oh.
The garden? The farm.
It had, more importantly, it had a lap pool.
Yes.
It's open to adults in the morning only. So Jeff can go swim, laps.
Can swim in the morning before there's pee in it. Just kidding.
It had 3 swimming pools, Sweet. One which would be perfect for you. It had a gym.
Outdoor gym, too.
Outdoor, indoor gym. It had dog parks. Outside. It has...
Playgrounds,
billions of playgrounds. It looks like a community gathering every day for somebody. Mm-hmm. Like every day there's something happening where you can connect with human beings. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then the creme de la creme.
Well,
this was not on the video. That was not on the video.
Yeah, it was.
The youth group was on the video?
Group, and they were playing basketball and volleyball, which are our son's 2 favorite sports to play.
Oh, you're talking about the in detailed video. I'm talking about the slideshow.
Yeah.
Jeff jumping. But it did show that it had basketball, it had volleyball, bocce ball. It has all these things. I'm like, oh my God, all this is outdoors, which we have not been outside in months. Yeah. It's all with community and the creme de la creme, y'all. They have a farm. You got to be kidding me.
With on-site farmer that teaches you.
What? Like, how cool is God? He's like, I knew that was the last thing that you thought would be here. But there was nothing strong enough to get me to Texas. I couldn't find anything that made me want to go back besides my family. And God knew my heart. I was not going back unless there was something else there for me besides my family. I've got roots here now. But when I saw all the desires of my heart play on that slideshow, I was like, oh my Lord, we got to go. And the urgency began then. Then all of a sudden, everything was in hyper speed. And we literally forgave each other very quickly.
We did.
We laughed more that day.
We did.
Than we've laughed in years. So we're super excited, and we get on the website, right? And we find all the builders, all the different builders. There's 5 different builders in this beautiful community. And we went through every single builder, found the builder we loved, found the 2 houses that we loved, wrote their names down, flagged them, and immediately messaged them. And we're like, we'd like to talk to somebody immediately.
And then they came back and said, well, we just sell homes that are already pre-built. We don't have a home that fits those 2 models ready. So you have to call this other person to talk about a new build.
Yeah. So we actually called Harvest. We talked to someone for TriPoint inside of Harvest. And she's like, let's schedule a time to chat. Like today. Okay. Sounds like our speed. And so within 72 hours, we have already talked to the home builder. We've got an idea of what it kind of looks like. We kind of know what house we kind of want. We have to still sell this house? Wait, we were putting all the carts before the horses, like we said. Like everything was out of order, but it was just fueled on excitement, forgiveness, and again, urgency. So the whole day we were on the computer in between jobs and phone calls, looking and dreaming about what our life could look like. It went from like never wanting to move to Texas to like, how fast can we get there? It was like a switch went off. And so we found the builder, we chose the models, and we called her and we got on a formal phone call with her. But right before that happened, I felt like I needed to tell my best friend, Bobby, that something was going down and it was exciting. And he's like, so what's going on? It's like, oh my God, we're looking at houses and maybe thinking about coming back home. He's like, what? Okay. And we had this really short conversation and he's like, that's a really nice little city that you're wanting to move to. And I was like, I've never heard of it or seen it. Maybe I've heard of it, but I don't really know where it's at. And he was like, no, it's really nice. And I know someone who lives there that I used to work with your friend Daniel. And I was like, what a coincidence. You know someone that lives there. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, I think they're real estate agents. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. What's their names? He goes, I'll message it to you. So he messaged it to me. I did not click on it because I had a phone call with Isabel and we were very excited to explore our options.
Isabel is at TriPoint, the builder.
Inside of Harvest. And so we get on the phone with Isabel and we knew we wanted to have representation if we do this because obviously we don't live there yet and we live in New Jersey and building a house it's a serious thing.
I don't know. I'm kind of figuring this out for the first time, but yeah.
It's like my 1.5 time. I've done it kind of.
Just having like there's someone there to check on status and like just give us feedback on everything.
Not to say that TriPoint wouldn't treat us well, but we need someone we could pay to be on the ground to do this for us. And so we're talking to her and I just literally look at my phone and I'm like, yes, our representation will be Paige and Edson. And she's like, she sucked all the air out of the room. Not only did she know them, but she like praised them. She's like, these are legit people. How did you find them? I'm like, well, it's a short story. My friend knows them. I have no idea. And she was like, I'm writing their names down right now. And I was like, we haven't talked to them at all. They don't even know we exist at this point. She's writing their name down and just like out of, I guess, pure faith that they're going to be the ones. And we got off the call. We were very excited to move forward and explore our options, but there's no finality or anything. It was just a lot of exploring.
But there was a God wink in that moment too, because as we're telling Isabel our story, like roots and everything, she's like, that's pretty much my story. Like that's how I ended up here too.
Yeah, Isabel came from California to Texas and kind of had to do what we're about to do. And we're like, that's so cool. Yeah. She's like, so I feel you. Yeah. I get it. And that felt really good for someone to get our specific situation and how excited we were, but also like all that was about to come before us. She knew what it was. Right. We couldn't see it, but she knew it. That's how God works. Yep. He puts people in your path to help aid in what he wants to get done.
Guides.
And same for us. Hopefully we've been put in people's path to help them do the same.
I hope so.
But it's felt really good for it to happen to us. It hasn't happened in a really long time. And you could just see God just all over it. And so not only that, but then we were like, we should probably contact these real estate agents and let them know that we hired them in our minds. And we sent them an Instagram message and then they text us. And then very quickly we text them back and said, at your earliest convenience, let us know when y'all can chat. We're thinking about building a home in Harvest. Literally messaged us back and they were like, y'all want to call now? It was 9:30 on a Friday night. I don't know what y'all are doing on Friday nights or how exciting your life is, but we were like, first of all, who would do that? Who would call on a Friday night? And we're like, we should take it.
It's like watch TGIF or plan our dreams.
Yeah. And what's great is it just kept going with that word urgency. Yeah. They acted urgently without even know that was in our heart. Yeah. So we get on the phone with them and it's a regular call, but when there's 4 people on a phone call, it's really hard to understand who's talking.
Right.
And you can't read body language. You have no idea what's going on. So I request a FaceTime. I'm like, can we just hit the FaceTime button and look at each other? They're like, warning. we're in the bed. And we have on little eye patches under our eye. We were like, having an in-home spa moment alone from our children. And we're like, we don't care. And we really don't care. But the fact is they got on the phone with us in their bed, curled up on a Friday night, probably watching a movie, to dream with us. And it was really magical.
It was nice.
And they dreamed with us, planned with us, gave us input. And then we learned something really cool about them. They had just they had just moved into the exact place we're about to move into. That would make us neighbors. Mm-hmm. They also sold their house very quickly and had to rent a house in the neighborhood so their girls could be acclimated to the school. So their kids were their priority. It's very, very, very similar to what we're about to go through.
AKA another guide and someone that has lived.
Another guide. So we have 2 guides now, and we're just seeing this as confirmations. Mm-hmm. Check, check, check. We still have no idea what we're doing. We're just moving in a direction. We have no idea where that leads. And these beautiful people have been just put in our path to help kind of guide us and keep us on the right track. Because we really don't even, we're blindfolded. We are completely blind. We have no idea what's going on at this point. So that's when we got to know Paige and Edson. And the call went fantastic. We immediately had connection, and we immediately started making plans on what we need to do for next steps. But this whole time that we've been doing this whole first week, we have already packed up our house. We've already sold stuff on Marketplace. We've got people coming from all edges of this county to pick up furniture, goods, toys. We're already acting like we're leaving.
And we haven't signed anything with anyone.
No contracts with anybody. And we are like a quarter deep into this house.
So then the next morning, So the next morning, we call our New Jersey realtor that found this house for us. And we put in his mind that, hey, we're probably going to be selling this house and moving. Mm-hmm. Can you help us?
Yeah, another cart before the horse. So he gets here and he's like, so what's your plan? We don't have any. How's it going to work? We don't know. What's your timeline? Good question. Why are you doing this? God told us. Okie dokie. So this is what it looks like. And he laid everything out for us and he got it all laid out. And we're still like, I guess we'll sign a contract with you before we sell this house, before we have a contract on a new home, before we even have a real estate agent. We're going to try to sell this house. It was all out of order.
And so a disclaimer pops up. Do not seek any advice or counsel from Leah and Jeff.
Yeah, don't seek counsel because this is totally a faith-driven mission.
Yeah, it was a
but
mission.
Sal, again, also a believer. God's just put believer after believer after believer in our paths. And we not only trust him, as a friend and as a person that sold us this house, but we believe that God is calling him to help us place a new family in this house. And so we are literally preparing this house. Before any contracts were even given, we were preparing it for the next person. Yeah. We're honoring it. Because remember what God told me? Go clean up your house. So now we're physically actually doing it. The spiritual side was like, check. And like the physicality side was like, you in danger, girl. You got to get busy. This is a big house and a lot of paint and a lot of dust and a lot of stuff. Oh my God, the stuff that's come out of this house.
Yeah. That's actually a funny part. I don't know if we're going there, but all the stuff that was coming out of this house and would it send messages to other people of what was going on in the inside of this house.
Oh, so we thought we're being clever by heaps of trash by the yard and by getting stuff, getting it out of this house by Facebook Marketplace. Thanks to all the people who bought my stuff. The people started putting the pieces together, but we were still like, we don't know what's going on. We're not saying anything because we don't have a contract. Right. And Jeff's rule is we don't have a contract. We shouldn't say anything. Yeah. We had a contract to sell this house.
Yeah.
But no contract where we're going to go or where we're going to live.
Right.
If we're going to build or we're not going to build.
Right.
So people started figuring it out, but we were like, we're not saying anything except for our family. We slowly, even then we told one at a time.
Yeah.
We didn't make a grand announcement. Again, we didn't want to stick our foot in our mouth.
No.
All the carts were before the horse. If we'd be so embarrassed if it fell through. That would be so embarrassing. I don't think God would let us down, but we could definitely screw it up if we tried. Yeah. So now we have no contract on homes. Our house is half empty. Our closets are all cleaned out. Like we're selling everything. We're trying to figure out how we're going to list our house, how we're going to get a home, and where we're going to put our kids in school. And then God just really started weighing on my heart. It's like, the center of the flower, when it blooms, it's Trace. It's your son. He is the driving force of the timeline. He's the urgency. And he just started really putting in my heart that this is, me and Jeff will acclimate. Yeah. We've been preparing for this since we left, honestly, but our children have not. Our families have been awaiting us with like pom-poms and cheerleader moves. They're like, let's go. When are you coming home? But our children are going to be the ones that are facing the biggest change. And so God just told me, it's like, the reason you need to have urgency to get here and possibly rent and build the home that I want you to build, but you need to get here for your son, is for him to get acclimated in school. And Texas gets out earlier than Jersey. So we're like, oh my God, like timeline. You don't want to stick a kid in the last 2 weeks of school when it's just all games and party and like getting out of school. He needs to have some like roots. And so God just kept giving me, and my best friend too, she's been calling the times of this, even when I feel overwhelmed and I'm crying and I'm on my knees and I don't know if I can do this. She's like, this is what's going to happen. She just has like a real confidence about her, and I believe her, and her dates have been spot on. And she was like, at first I thought it would be summer. She goes, but I think you're going to be there by April. And I was like, April? That's 8 weeks. Like, how? She's like, I don't know how. You're just going to have to do it. And so after talking to the school district, after talking to everyone about the requirements for my son, he needs to be there at the end of March or the very beginning of April before some special things happen in the school where you can't register your child. Right. He would actually miss out on school. And guess what? If you're not at school, you don't make friends.
That was actually her advice is, I mean, like she didn't push it, but she was like, just my advice, right, is I would get him here before the end of the school year so then he can meet some people and build on those relationships
Which
through
was
summer.
in my heart. It was in my heart the whole time. Right. And when I had to tell Trace, I didn't have to. When I got to tell Trace what we were going to do, I knew it was going to be a slew of questions, a lot of questioning our motives, because he's always a part of all of our decision making. But I had to tell him. I looked him in the face because he was really shocked. And I said, this is for you. I'm not doing it like for you. I'm not making the move because no matter what you say, I'm going to do it because God told me to. But I want you to watch, because this is what happens when you follow what God tells you to do. His next question was, how do you hear God? Again, he wants to know all the details of everything.
Listen to the podcast.
So we literally take him through every step because he's 13. I just want him to be a part of every decision we're making. Not that he gets to make the decision, but he gets to be a part of it. And I wanted to be very clear because Jeff wanted me to reiterate when I was telling Jeff, he's like, we're not moving for Trace. I'm like, no, he is the reason for the timeliness of the move. That is the urgency to get us there. I think there's other layers of urgency that have not been revealed to us yet, because God knows we could not handle too much more on our plate right now. And we're open to learning about the urgency. But right now, the timeliness is for Trace. And we've had to dream with Trace. We've had to show him the facilities. We have to show him where he can go play basketball with a friend. And I told him, I said, my dream, no matter where we live, but especially here, this magical place that doesn't seem real, is I could just see you coming down the stairs, rushing down because he's fast, almost falling, grabbing, a jacket, and just be like, hey, Mom, I'm going out. And be like, where are you going? I'm going to go out and play basketball or go play volleyball with my friends. All right, be safe. Keep your phone on you. This child barely leaves his house. If he leaves the house, he's always with us. He's 13. I remember being 13 and wishing I lived in a neighborhood where I could go grab a bike and run and just go. You lived that life.
I did live that life. It's so freeing to just be, I'll see you when the streetlights come on, and like just being out with your friends and enjoying being a kid.
He hasn't really done that here. He's the oldest of all the kids, and he spends a lot of time alone or virtual reality. His friends are all virtual. Yeah. And it's just the age that we live in. COVID made that a thing, and it made it just a habit. And I want to break that habit, and I have to move across the country to break it. Yeah. And just to see his grandparents not in vacation mode. He's only known them holidays and vacations.
Which is wonderful, but I mean, like, stressful, and like, that was a desire in my heart too. It is like we would see our families get together for normal days, like normal Saturdays. Just, hey, we're going to go swimming at the pool and barbecue, like not a holiday. And I'm like, we're missing out on those like small but big moments.
Huge moments for him. So our kids are a part of this. They're actually collecting money as we sell it and creating like a giant like fundraiser bulb. The red ones used to color it in with the marker. We went for $500 and now we're over $1,200. So they're really excited because that money goes towards their big gaming, flex space in the new home. So that's been really fun to do. Then we had this feeling 2 weeks in, We are 2 weeks in. Yes, all of this has happened in 2 weeks. We are 2 weeks in, and I told Jeff I have this feeling in my gut that we're supposed to talk to Isabel about a lot being available. We could not sign a contract without a lot. Mm-hmm. And a lot was supposed to be available in the next 2 to 3 months. It's only been 2 weeks. And I'm like, hey, Isabel, what's that girl? Is there a lot available? So I asked Jeff to message her, and he messaged her, and she literally said,
I was about
to call you guys. Can you talk right now? Right now has been the thing. Remember the real estate agents in Texas? Can y'all call right now?
It's like that song, Right Now.
Oh, it's a good song. Come together. So she said, can y'all talk right now? And we said, of course. We're standing at the kitchen island. And I remember it was on speakerphone. Mm-hmm. And I'm like looking at Jeff with big wide eyes, like tapping the pen, like, oh, God, what is she going to say? She's going to say it's like 16,000 years now and the price went up double and like, whatever. Yeah, I'm a pessimist at heart, I guess. And what did she say?
She said, I don't know what happened or how this happened, but we have your lot ready.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
And she was like, oh my gosh, guys. And she got super excited. We got excited. I think that's when I started weeping again and realizing that this plan's coming together.
Yeah.
It's coming together. It's only been 2 weeks and it felt like 2 centuries.
Yeah.
Oh man. January's long as it is.
It was.
But it's been the fastest paced thing I've ever done, but the longest month of my life.
Yeah. And even though it hasn't been, let's just say, easy, everything's been just falling into place and on time.
On time. And when you're moving and doing all these different kinds of pieces that are all floating around and you're trying to like logistics, all these things, timing is everything.
Right.
But God's timing is perfect. So we've kind of surrendered to the idea of forcing things and realizing every single thing that's happening is happening for us.
Yes.
Even the things that feel rotten. That's when you lean in and you go, wonder why that's happening out of curiosity of what God's going to do with it. Because I believe it's already been done.
So are we going to share some of those?
I feel like the story's already been written and we're just trying not to screw it up.
The whole thing's been written.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do is just be faithful and have trust. So after that phone call, we realized, oh my God, we picked the lot. We agreed. We picked the kind of house we want. And that set us up to really start moving the progress forward for that.
Yep. And to really start to move on this house and prepare this house to be sold.
Yeah. So still, what are we doing? Packing, painting, purging. And you thought we'd be like, and 2 or 3 weeks solid of doing this, you think we'd cut like into it. But man, we're just now getting into it. And it's just been 4 weeks. Seriously. We're just now getting to where it's like, oh, there's some stuff missing. Like that's how much stuff we have.
The house is starting to echo.
Yeah. Hello. If you hear an echo on this podcast, it's because of how hard we worked. Yeah. So where are we at in the story? I'm going to get lost. Mm-hmm. So we needed to sell this house because we are now on a timeline, right?
Yes.
Like we're on a timeline where the school's like, you need to really be here by April 1st and not April 15th, April 1st. And we're like, oh gosh, we need a place to live.
Yes.
We don't have nowhere to live. We finally signed the contract, which was good.
Yeah.
The ISD though was really the one that was driving the timeline. Yeah. They're like, this is what we need from you. This is all the paperwork, the immunization records. The state of Texas is tough.
It's tough, yes. And like they're very strict on,
this specific
showing
ISD.
Proof. Yes. Such a good school district that they need to be because people were trying to sneak in. Like so like we need to show valid proof that we live there. So we start to move on finding a house to rent.
The jurisdiction also changed.
Yes.
For the school district.
And it became a very...
When we finally got the rent house like selections from our amazing realtors, they're like, scratch all your loves and desires. None of those are available. Like, what? We just put our whole heart into these houses that we were going to rent.
Because they rezoned.
And they're like, no, we rezoned and there you go. You're going to have to start somewhere else. I'm like, okay. So again, not being attached to anything. No. Really, you can't be attached to anything during a process where everything is up in the air. You just kind of have to take it. So as we're looking for new rentals, we're having a hard time connecting because we're like, it could be taken from us. Yeah. It was really scary. Like, I kind of like this one, it's fine. And then they actually went and showed us some of the houses, walked virtually.
And so we saw 2 homes. One we really liked. And then the second one.
Good backup plan.
Yeah, good backup plan. Fast forward.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. The one is not going to be ready for us. And the second one is they did some things that just was not right. And so like we decided to walk away from that one. So now it's like great. What is this trying to teach us? Like, why is this happening for us? And then sure enough, 2 more
just recently,
just like yesterday,
we decided on an unfurnished house, and we're going to get on a call right after this podcast to hopefully seal that contract deal up. So once we know we have a house that's being built, we have a house that we can go to, then the last missing piece is to sell this house. So these last 2 years specifically have just been really, really intense, but all of those seeds were being planted, and out of obedience, keep planting in the dark seasons. And finally, the light just came out, and the harvest will be reaped, and we'll have a personal farmer and friends and family.
Yes.
And all the desires of our heart they started here on this soil.
They did.
Even though we're going there, we've already started acting like it's ours. We were acting like it was ours before we even had a contract.
We claimed it all.
We did claim it.
And we worked towards it in full faith.
With nothing in sight proving we would get it, we still acted like we were going to get it. And that is the true definition of faith.
Yes.
And God's given us a lot of grace, and he's still teaching us lessons right now. And we're still in the middle of this process. Obviously, we're still not moved. We're in New Jersey. But man, are we stoked.
I can't wait.
It's just the beginning of something new. And so if you're in a season where you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over and over, your joy is lacking. Your connection with human beings is lacking, like us. Maybe you switch jobs and you are remote and you just feel like you're slowly dying. It's okay. And it's normal to kind of grieve and go through not so happy emotions, even though it felt like it was a really good move. It can be really hard on you.
Yeah.
Like working together all the time, running businesses, working from home all the time, being with our kids every day, all the time. It really played a toll on us. So we're looking for balance, peace, connection. And these are the things that I would encourage you to really look into your life and say, like, are those things benefiting me right now or hurting me? And do I need to make some change?
Yeah.
Change is good.
Not
this much change. It can be really hard, but
as you were just saying that, I was thinking of the quote, and it makes more sense to me now, is it takes a village, because a lot of people think of that quote as like physically it takes a lot of hands to do things, but it takes a lot of people to play all the different roles that we all need, and the community aspect. So yeah, it takes a village, and I'm excited to meet our new village and build onto the people like that we have in our lives, and even to get to come back to New Jersey because we have some weddings to shoot.
We still got work to do here, and we will always have work to do here.
Always. And we'll still take work here because we love this place. Yeah. And then we'll get to come back and visit the village that we have made here.
Yeah. So grateful. So if you want to pray for us or think about us or good vibes or lift us up or whatever it is that you do, let me just tell you what's coming up that you can do that for. So we're listing the house in about 2 weeks in February, middle of February. And that's hard to sell a house in the winter with snow. So we're praying for no snow and clear skies and a little bit warmer temperatures. We're also needing a contract on a rental, which hopefully happens today as of February 2nd. Today's February 2nd. We're moving to Texas in March. So we just for a clean, smooth move of our vehicles, our life, our children, our whole life is moving. Also for Trace to get in school by April 1st. That's the goal. That's what the urgency was for. That this house sells, and not only does it sell, but it is smooth, it is easy, it goes to the best family that will fit in with this neighborhood and add value and also grow from these people that have just poured into us and enjoy this gorgeous lake life, this very serene lake life, and just add so much joy to their lives. We've had so much poured into us here. And obviously to get into our new house, to the dream house that is our next chapter. It's not a forever house.
Nope.
This is the next step house. It's an investment into our children, into their lives, into my son staying home for college. Yeah, you didn't think I didn't think about that? He's going to be with me forever. And
I mean, let's face it, any house here on earth is not our forever house. So
yeah, this is true. We're just following the whispers, laying things down. Just remember, you can't grab new things that will serve you better if you're constantly picking up the same things or holding on to them, rather. I held on to mine for years. And so whatever those are for you, I'm just going to encourage you to rethink if they serve you in this season. And don't be afraid to change. Be the change. Sometimes you have to be the one that advocates for yourself. And if you are a believer, we just thank you right now in advance for listening and praying over us. And if you're not a believer, I hope this gives you some insight to how powerful God is and what he can do that us humans just, we don't have that power. And I'm just so grateful that we have it. We know it. We share it. We love him. We're not afraid to share it. And if you ever want to talk about it or you have questions about it, we're here. We're here. So cheers, dibs. You almost paper covers rock. And yeah, thanks for listening. Until next time, we'll be coming from Texas. By the way, just a little note. We're gonna have a permanent podcast room in our new house.
Oh yes, no more setup.
If y'all knew what happened before, during, and after this podcast, it's its own podcast.
Yeah, so permanent fixture.
And we'll stay married. I'm just joking. No, we will. I was like, and have a podcast. So yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in Texas. Yeehaw!
Making better grow up. Go up, people. That's the wrap.